Um, I was self-righteous for the first 40 years of my life, and I didn't think I needed to go to church. I didn't see that they offered me anything that I didn't have. I didn't see anything in anybody's life that indicated that I needed something they had. And I came from a morally righteous family that never went to church, and never was a Bible in the, well, I guess my mom might have had a Bible in the house, but I don't recall anything else. Nobody ever read one. I had read a couple of David and Goliath type of stories in a children's book as a child, but I had been to Sunday school once or twice, shot spit wads at one another, the kids in the classroom and so on, and I don't remember anything that was said. So one day, as I was in business for myself as a photographer, and my brother Mel came to me and asked me what was the reason for my existence. And I told him I didn't know, and asked him to explain what he meant. And he said, well, you just figure it out for yourself. So I didn't know what else to do. But that troubled me. What am I supposed to be doing? And troubled me for some time. And eventually, what happened was that I remember people trying to talk to me about the Lord, and all I can remember, these were men who now I have met and know that they were godly men. And when they prayed for me and so on, I remember one night that several of them gathered around me in my place of business and joined hands around me and prayed for me, and all I got out of it was they wanted me to join a church. And I don't want to join a church. I don't care about that. So the gospel was preached to me, but I never heard it. And then one day I picked up this Bible, Evolution or Creation, and that my wife had left in the house, and I realized that after reading the first couple of chapters that there had to be a creator. Evolution was a farce, and I'd more or less believed that, but I'd never come to really the grips of the fact that, yes, there was a creator. So if there was a creator, then the answer to my question must be in the Bible, and having never read the Bible, but I had an understanding that God had created man in the Garden of Eden, so I thought my answer might be there. So as I read the Bible and realized that Adam had used to, apparently, from the way it's written, God and Adam in the evening had some conversation. What they talked about, I'm not sure of, probably about the work in the Garden of Eden and various things. But then there was this occasion in the scripture where Adam hid himself. He had been disobedient to God and had sinned. And all of a sudden I realized that that's where I was at. I was a sinner in God's eyes. Didn't understand a lot about that, except that all of a sudden I knew there was a creator, and I knew that I had offended this God. I was doing my own thing and never ever talking to God about what I should be doing. So it was about this time that God sent a man around, a Baptist fellow that I had done business with very closely for a number of years. And he came by one Saturday at my place of business and said that God had sent him by to talk to me about Jesus Christ. And I rather marveled because the phone never rang. Nobody entered into the store on a Saturday for some 2 hours while he talked to me about Christ. It was the first time I think I'd ever heard the gospel. And he invited me to go to a men's Bible study, and I did that in a morning, and he had taken me for fear I would back out and not come. And after the meeting, or during the meeting, I met men who I knew. There was a lawyer, there was a pharmacist, there was a radio announcer, there were people that I knew, businessmen, who talked about Jesus Christ, and I had never, that was always kind of a swear word to me, and I was really taken with that. So after the meeting, this man, the Baptist friend, took me back to my place of business, and it was there in the front of his pickup parked on Wall Street downtown, that he pulled out his 4 Spiritual Laws, a little booklet, and I prayed the prayer at the end of that booklet, believing that Jesus Christ was who he said he was, the Son of God, and that he had died in my place for my sins and rose again from the dead. And I didn't understand how all that worked, but I did believe it. And I told God at that time that I'd do whatever it was he told me to do. I just had to hear his voice. And I remember the first thing that God spoke to me was, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain," before I ever got out of the cab of that truck. It was just as plain as if somebody had said those words audibly to me. But I remember that for several days, I couldn't finish a sentence. It took me a while to realize that God was keeping me from taking his name in vain. I had used to have done that quite literally all the time. So I learned from that what God commands us to do, he gives us power to do. And so that was a great lesson to me to begin with. So from there, I began to read my Bible, and I remember that I met Dick about this time, and Dick had told me that I needed to read the Bible before I read anything else. Some of the best instruction I ever got was that. And I remember reading my Bible within about 3 months from cover to cover. I had to know what was in that book. And it was very enlightening, a lot of things that God showed me early on from those times.